So if you guys remember back in video 6 or something, we went in and we created something like that. That can actually create and return all the products from FireStore with a GET request. So what I've done is I've kind of extended this code a little bit, and yes, I've just created the code right now and you guys will just have to follow along. I'm not going to live code this lesson. I just want to show you guys how easy it actually is to control what you're getting in. If you're getting a GET request, POST request, PUT request, delete request, because we have full control over these functions we have available right here. So again, we start out with the function that we talked about earlier. We say on request, we're going to get a request and a response object, pretty much just meaning that I can use this now to check out what type of request I'm getting, and from that request type I can do different things. So for instance, in my setup right here, if I do a GET request, I'll go in and I'll actually get all products, convert them into some kind of JSON that I can then send back in the response, right? So if we go back to Postman just to show you guys this, just to kind of give a refresh of what's going on. If I do a GET request right here, and I actually go in and I say I don't want any body information, I'll do a send and I'll get back the list of products on my FireStore, right? That's how simple it is. Now again, the first thing we'll do whenever we hit this guy, the on request, what we'll do is we'll do a check right here. Now that's the new thing, if it's a GET request or if it's actually something else. And in my case, I'm going to say if it's a POST request, I want to do something different. And if there's none of the above, it's not a GET, it's not a POST, I'm just going to return, I don't have that ready yet. So let me just try and show you that part. If I go in and do a PUT request, send it again, you'll see no, not supported request yet, right? So we haven't set that up yet. So that's actually how simple it is to kind of control if you're getting a GET request, a POST request, PUT request, and then from that you can do different operations inside your setup, right? So it's fairly simple to control what you're actually getting, what request method type you're getting. So that's amazing. Another thing I did was I added the async keyword right here, because now we want to start using await, because what I want to do next is going to be crazy. I'm going to say that I want to be able to do a POST request right here to this product's URL right here, and in the body what I'm going to send in is all the stuff I showed you in the last lesson, where I'm going to pass in all the information about the actual product, so that with a single request I can now create a full featured product with an image, with metadata file image, with the actual product information right here. Let's try and check that out. Jumping back to my code, what's going to happen is I'm going to hit this function right here asynchronously. I'm going to not hit the GET request. Nope, because I just sent the type of POST, right? So I'm not going to hit the GET request. So I'm going to go to, let me just put Postman right here so it's easier to find him. I'm going to go to, not the GET request, I'm going to skip this if statement. I'm going to go to the else statement, and here I'm going to just get the data from the request body. So this is how you get data from a request's body. And that pretty much just means I'm going to get all the data you see in here, and in my case this data is JSON, so it's just going to be converted into a simple JavaScript object. Very simple stuff. So now here we have the data that I want to use for my body right here, or that I want to use to create a product, right? So let's have a look. I have a name. I'm going to use that name to create the actual product, right? So this is the product metadata right here. I also have some file metadata. I'm going to use that. If you scroll to the bottom right here, you'll see the file metadata. So I'm going to use all that data to create file metadata that I can store inside the files in the collection of FireStore. And then the final thing I want to do is actually start doing all the work. So step one is I'm going to add this inside the collections of files. I'm going to create the file metadata, right? Second step, this is crazy, but this is something you can do. You can take this base64 image, you can just go and grab my code if you want to. You can take the base64 image and convert it from actually being base64. First we remove some of the garbage in the image we don't want to use right now. If I scroll to the top, there's a lot of metadata information about this image. This part is not the actual image, it's just information about the image that is base64 encoded, and this is the type of the image, right? So I'm going to remove that before I try to convert this into an image. That's kind of the first step right here, get rid of it by replacing all this noise with nothing. Then I'm going to create a buffer that can contain the image as base64. Now I have the image, and then you know what? You can actually use Firebase storage, use a file, give it a name, and again, our name right now is just going to be the value ID, which is just the ID we have from the file we just created. So that's just going to be a unique identifier for files metadata. I'm going to use that name to actually create an image, and I'm going to pass in the image buffer. That's the actual image. And then I'm going to pass in these values. I want to gzip it, pretty much meaning that I want it to be compressed, right? And then I want to kind of send some metadata back so that it knows what type of image it actually is. That's how simple it was to create the image. Now, remember, I'm using a wait, so I'm not going to go to the next part right here until it's saved. And when it's saved, I'm going to create from that ID, I'm going to add the picture ID to the product. You've seen this many times done from Angular. It's just done on Firebase now. I'm going to create the product now inside the products collection. Again, I wait for that to be done. When it's done, I'm going to add the product ID to the product. So now I have both picture ID, product ID, and all the name for the product is all available now for that specific product. And I'm going to send it all back in a response right here just saying, congratulations, you just saved the data. Freaking simple, right? Now everything is managed on the backend with that single request. If something goes wrong, I'll respond with an error. And again, like you saw before, if I don't have any of the request types, I'll just return, we're not ready to support that yet. Go and check out the code. It's fairly simple when you start getting the hang of it, but there is a lot of things going on. So this request right now, if I just send this request right here, let's just try and do it, boom, what will actually happen is it'll create a new guy on Firebase. It'll add the storage, file to storage, it'll add two documents to the collections, and it'll return this, I just saved the data. And to be even cooler, we can go in and check out our module app right here. You'll see that because we have live reload using Angular Fire 2, it actually shows up this new guy right here automatically. So let me just try and zoom out a little bit, and let me just try and add another guy. Let's call him check this out. Save this. Whoops. I'll send this, and you'll see if I just jump, boom, it just popped up right here. Check this out, because Angular 2 we have live reload, and now with this new setup we actually can send post request to Firebase that will then take care of manipulating the data, saving the right data, doing everything for us. So that's it for this lesson. Now you've seen how easy it is to kind of create requests and decide on what request type you have. And well, what's next? Let's try and do this from Angular instead of right now where we're doing it from Firebase. From Postman. So that's it for this lesson. See you next time. Have fun.